If you, like me, are on Twitter, first of all, my condolences, but also you know what I'm talking about. Much like there's a certainty that the flag mashup bot will eventually do something like mash up the flags of Israel and Palestine, there is also a certainty that as time progresses, Elon Musk will eventually post something utterly unbefitting a billionaire. Or, for that matter, a rational human being. And every time it happens, it is a feast for the brain. Recently tweeted this, the SEC, but the middle letter is Elon's, which I don't even know whether that is a good joke or not, because all of the comedy is derived from the context. Which is surpassed in hilarity only by the fact that Elon is currently under investigation by the SEC for various reasons, one of which is that his shareholders complain that he tweets shit like this. Just so you know how difficult my job is in this, I, for 5 minutes, tried to somehow make the Elon the Felon joke, which works perfectly in text, also work in a video format, but it turns out that Ellen the Felon and Elon the Felon both sound like extraterrestrial sex offenders, and I am pretty sure that he has not done that. So when it comes to Elon Musk, people seem to fall in one of two distinct camps. One is the people who think that Elon Musk is an epic god, and the other ones believe that he is the worst human being to have been born since Jeffrey Dahmer. And this may sound like an overstatement, but I say this with a completely straight face. I have found it just as difficult to find pro-Elon people who will not defend any of his criticisms to the death, as I have found it difficult to find anti-Elon people who will acknowledge that he has in his entire life ever done anything remotely good. I would hope not to have to tell people on my channel this, but holy fucking shit, what insanity hath befallen thou? If you clicked on this video actually expecting a definitive verdict as to whether Elon Musk is a good or a bad person, frankly, re-examine your worldview. Instead, you will now be forced to listen to things that I think are good things that Elon Musk did or is, and also things that I think are bad things that Elon Musk did or is, and then I will proceed not to summarize the entirety of everything that he has done with one simple binary statement, because that isn't how the world works, you literal child. First of all, he's a billionaire. Now, I don't know about you, I know that a lot of you will disagree on this, and that's fine, but personally, I think there shouldn't be billionaires. I wouldn't go so far as to say that there shouldn't be very rich people. I am just saying that having such an unfathomable fortune in a world where a significant chunk of the global population is literally just starving, and where the entire economic system is built upon exploitation, it's not really possible to have gained that amount of money without actively engaging in some very unethical business practices. And let's be honest, you really have to choose to actively engage with those unethical business practices to become a billionaire. Now, I wouldn't blame Elon for having been born into the tremendous wealth that he was born into. Most millionaires, and I think also most billionaires, just happened to inherit that gigantic fortune. It's not their fault that they got a head start in life. And in terms of using the fortune that was grown from that already pre-existent fortune, I think most of the billionaires who take care not to have any kind of big public profile, which is like the opposite of what Elon Musk does, he actually uses his money comparatively well. He has founded a huge amount of companies that have made significant contributions to research and technological development in very essential fields. even if many of their projects have failed. He has done significant work in popularizing and spreading EV technologies, which are essential in getting us away from fossil fuels that are poisoning the planet, and he has even opened up the patents of his EV company. Now, it must be said at this point that Tesla's patent policy isn't a simple you can do whatever you want with the patents so the world can become a better place. There are some rightful legal critiques of some of the clauses one has to agree to when using Tesla's proprietary technology, but it is nevertheless something that is objectively very good for the world that he didn't have to do. And frankly, it's also something that probably loses him money. And right now, immediately, stop writing that comment about how he got good PR from it. Of course, he got good PR doing that. That is the point of PR. Good PR exists for this precise reason. It is the biggest tool, even bigger than voting with your wallet, that consumers have to exert control over the corporations they buy from. A good thing done for good PR is still a good thing that objectively in the real world happened and had positive effects. In a similar vein, SpaceX is the much more important way in which Elon Musk is actually building a better future for humanity. And I say this completely unironically because it's true. Yes, all these billionaires with their private space companies mostly are fueled by egos the size of the Himalayas. But frankly, I don't give a shit because this means huge amounts of money poured into pretty much the most important project humanity has ever undertaken. A project which, by the way, is the priority of exactly 0 governments in the world anymore. That is money doubtless gained through exploitation, but at least invested in something that will vastly improve the lives of future generations. Now, I realize for a lot of people when I say that space travel is one of the biggest objectively good things that you could do for the human species and the future of the planet, the connection isn't necessarily obvious if you're not very deep into the subject matter the way I am. And frankly, I can't give you the totality of this incredibly complex topic in one short video. There's entire YouTube channels like Isaac Arthur who are dedicated to exploring all of that. But here are some of the cliff notes. Not only has space exploration created countless world-changing, life-saving technologies that are being used right now far outside of their original space travel fields, it's also basically a silver bullet for most of the major problems that humanity is facing today. First of all, and most importantly, climate change. I don't think people understand how trivial a problem climate change is, the kind that we are facing right now, for a civilization that is only slightly more advanced in terms of space technology and infrastructure than us. And I say this explicitly because unfortunately most of the anti-climate change activists that I have met in the wild, not the ones that I actually know on my channel that are fans, I myself am an anti-climate change activist, but most of the ones that you meet on the street will tell you, if asked, that space exploration is a waste of resources that should instead be spent fighting climate change. Look, once you have the basic capacity to mine and manufacture in space, which is the two things that have the greatest economic incentives attached to them, it is easy, it is actually easy to just put a big mirror between the Earth and the Sun. Legitimately, that is the whole solution. And no life form on Earth would even notice the difference, except for the fact that climate change has been solved. Now you might go, hang on, putting a huge mirror in space doesn't really sound like an easy thing to do. And that is a good point. But though I will not be running the engineering specifics, trust me when I say, for a civilization with that amount of space infrastructure, it kind of is. And it is certainly, even for us today, a lot easier than just convincing everyone in the world to stop consuming product, and then also at the same time defeating the infinite wells of money that powerful global aristocrats poisoning the planet have, and so they can't use their political power anymore. All of which happens through grassroots activism. If you consider the political realities, a big fuck-off mirror in space is a lot more realistic. Because if we don't do it, one of the finest Hail Marys is to just inject new chemicals into the extremely chemically complex makeup of the atmosphere that is governed primarily by chaos. I'd rather not come to that point. But let's ignore all of the other potentially positive effects that space travel will have on various aspects of environmental protections and go straight to it solving global poverty. Even with today's system of wealth distribution, just the amount of resources and potential resources easily available in space once you have a few basic things in place is so incredibly high that even while exploiting a fraction of the solar system could catapult us into a post-scarcity age. This means that things being available only in limited amounts ceases to be a problem. Again, I'm not going to go into the totality of this, but you can probably imagine how such a fundamental shift in the availability of wealth might change things a little bit. Will this automatically solve all of our political wealth inequality issues? Absolutely not. But it sure as shit will open a whole range of new options to deal with that problem. And what Elon Musk is doing is A, lowering launch costs, which is basically the reason that SpaceX was founded, which is basically the reason that they build rockets that can land themselves. I don't know if you understand how crazy that is. And he also, B, creates space industry. Again, I can't expect anyone who isn't really deep into the space exploration genre of reality to immediately know how big of a deal this is, but trust me, it is a big fucking deal. So yes, even the billionaires who are doing space companies simply because they are megalomaniacs, I can respect that way of using the money that they have, because at least in some way it is a net positive for humanity. And though this is the main reason why I tend to view Elon Musk in generally a positive light, he is of course also a massive asshole. Not only has he never met a neoliberal policy position that he didn't like, he also appears to be a little bit of a warhawk when it comes to, neoliberal world order things. Bolivia would come to mind. He's also a union buster, and it's pretty clear that one of the reasons he does as much business in the US as he does is because of the widespread anti-union sentiments even in the working class of the United States. Not to mention the entirety of the political infrastructure that supports union busting. And as much as space travel is a big deal, union busting kind of also is, just in an entirely different way. It's just that Elon Musk is by far not the only one doing it. He does this to an extent where it is illegal, and I can say this because he was convicted by a judge and had to rehire an employee that he fired because he was pro-union, and then also take back warnings and reprimands in the files of various other employees who were pro-union. He overpromises extremely cool technologies on unreasonable timelines and then underdelivers actually still pretty impressive technologies that it would be a lot cooler if he hadn't claimed that they would end up being 1,000 times better than they actually turned out to be, and which at the very least will form the basis for new technology. He's called people pedophiles because they were mean to him on Twitter. There is a picture of him with Ghislaine Maxwell, although he does claim that she basically photobombed him on one of those big events that the aristocracy likes to attend. So, though it is certainly something worth looking into, to my knowledge, he hasn't appeared on any Epstein lists, so I am inclined to believe him. He's also spread misinformation about the coronavirus on Twitter, not because he's evil or anything, it's just he was uninformed and decided to have an opinion on something that he was uninformed about. Which, let's be honest, that's not something that your Aunt Karen wouldn't do on Facebook. Although it must be said that when Elon Musk spreads this kind of misinformation, it's a bigger deal than some random on Facebook. He has spoken out against additional stimulus checks during the pandemic, although at the same time he said that he is pro-universal basic income. One thing, I'm not sure he still has it, but I know that for a while he had the Social Democrat Rose in his Twitter title name, which I'm not sure he knows what that means, maybe? Because his business practices have generally been very anti-SOCDEM. But really, let's be honest, Twitter is the place where we come full circle, and it is also the reason why so many people seem to believe he is the worst person ever. At least if you follow media coverage of Elon Musk, South African man said bad/stupid thing on Twitter is a lot more common a headline than look at actually there's some like very questionable business practices that Elon Musk has been doing, which does come as a surprise to precisely no one because it's the same thing with Trump. The media tends to really get uppity about his tweets, but when it comes to anti-worker political action that he takes, let's just not talk about it that much. Personally, I really like Elon Musk's Twitter. Don't get me wrong, I don't like most of the things he says. No, I like it because it's funny and he is a bit insane. Elon Musk is a crazy person, and we all know this to be true. He himself probably knows this to be true, because genuinely, the only old adage that I have always found is correct is that you can't be a genius without also being at least a little bit insane. Because Elon Musk is undoubtedly a genius and a visionary. He is just also a human being living the unfathomable life of an international billionaire who owns his own rockets that go to space and come back. He appears the way he appears in public because, unlike most other billionaires, he doesn't hide behind a carefully crafted persona that was designed by a social media team. He is instead the exact kind of complex and flawed person that everybody else also is. And frankly, personally, I resent the fact that so many people are trying to stop him from doing that and insisting on the proper decorum. I do not think we should have ever elevated celebrities to the status of gods. And I think every single one of them, where the mask slips and the true depths of the humanity beneath become clear, is a good thing. Especially if it results in the kind of insane shit that Kanye West and Elon Musk say, because they're very entertaining. But it is essential that people understand that these are the utterings of human beings. And that really is where my main problem with people wanting to know whether Elon Musk, or anyone for that matter, is good or bad. This drive that so many seem to have people summarized as one word is, to me, a deeply ingrained desire to elevate the aristocracy into something that is beyond human. It comes from a desire to try and maintain the belief that good people do good things and bad people do bad things, which is not only a factually incorrect thing to believe, but also a dangerous thing to believe. The moral and ethical value of any given action must be judged by that action, not by whether or not you like the person taking it. Otherwise, you may eventually find yourself in a position where you are justifying horrific things in the name of good and pushing away the resistance to those horrific things as being in the name of evil. I've seen plenty of people going, oh, space exploration is bad because Elon Musk does it, and so it must be selfish. I've also seen plenty of people going, oh, unions are bad and should be busted because they stand in the way of our grand savior Elon's big plan to save humanity. People do things. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Most of the time, they are sort of grey. Elon Musk is as complex as any other human being that you will ever encounter in your entire life. and attempts to make him into a part of a sort of personal pantheon, be it as an angel or a demon, are frankly imbecilic. You are an adult human being. Stop having the worldview of a child. Thank you very much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them. Consider supporting me on Patreon or Subscribestar, maybe buying some of my merchandise or my short story collection. And in that spirit, I know I don't have to tell my audience this, because I know my audience, and they are some of the most nuanced people that I have found on this platform. That very few other channels I know actually have this, or maybe that's just me being a bit biased because I like my audience, I don't know. The point is, have some nuance. And see you around, cunts.